Okay, what is happening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's me, Robert Phoenix, and we are back for another edition of the Astro Weather. Just because I'm sure inquiring minds want to know, Jasper is back home, and I think he's still, a little funky, right? He had a pretty serious reaction to some food, and as a result, he was backed up, and they did, what they do in a situation like that. So on that end, he's fine, but the whole thing, I think, is just really traumatic for him, and so he's still in recovery mode, and. I'll keep if you're on locals, I'll keep you apprised of Jasper's condition, and hopefully by this weekend he'll be back in form. So fingers crossed, and keep having some good thoughts for him. So anyway, that's the Jasper update. How the hell is everyone? I'm probably gonna share this over on 15 because there are some people there that aren't on here. But I had the craziest well, it wasn't really crazy, but I saw something crazy happen at the vets yesterday. I gotta tell this story because it's really funny. So I go there and I'm waiting to go into the room and meet with the vet, and there's this woman in the waiting area by the front desk. She's going to pay her bill, right? And she has not one, not two, but 3 Pomeranians. Now, a Pomeranian there's some Pomeranian lovers out there. God bless you. It's not a dog that I would seriously consider having a relationship with. They seem a little high maintenance, if you ask me. Anyway, it takes a certain person, I think, to have a Pomeranian. It takes a certain person to have 3 Pomeranians. And so she was a little eccentric. Let's put it that way, a little eccentric. And, she talks about these dogs like they're, little people. And she has 2 adults, and she has this little white Pomeranian puppy. Now, when I was in the waiting room, she was going on and on about how many harnesses and leashes she has. She said, "Oh, I've got at least 700 harnesses and leashes. Here, let me give you this one back." So it's the leash for the little puppy that belongs to the vet, right? It's like the little leash you use inside the vet, whatever. And I go in. Jasper has his visit, and I come out and I open the door. Now, this place is on it's like a highway. It's like a 2-lane highway with stoplights. All right. It's called Sidney Baker. It's one of the main drags. You got Sidney Baker and then Junction Highway. And they're the main drags that cut through Kerrville going north, south, and east, west. And it's super busy. It's midday, and I open the door of the vet's office. And what do I see? I see a little tiny white blur. And it's the little white Pomeranian puppy. And it's a heat-seeking missile going right down the center of the highway. And the woman who was in there is running after this puppy. I've never fucking seen anything like it before, right? And there's traffic going, 2 lanes on either side of this middle lane, and this little fucking blur is shooting right down the middle lane. And it was just pure chaos and pandemonium. And the people from the vet, I said, hey, that woman with the Pomeranian, she's chasing it down the highway. And so the vet, the vet gals come out and they want to get involved. I mean, it was crazy, absolutely crazy. So I found out that when she went to put the dogs in the car, now, this is where if she had had a leash, she would have been okay. But the little puppy, as she's putting it in the car, and before she's able to close the door, jumps out of the car and starts hauling ass down the center of this highway. And luckily, there was this truck, like one of these big Ford F-250s, whatever, and it was in the lane closest to the center. And he opened his door, and the puppy stopped and jumped in the guy's truck. And then the woman came running down, and then he did this pass off with the puppy. And it was insane. I'm like, what is going through that puppy's brain? Like, I'm free. I'm free. I can get away from this bitch. I'm free, right? Anyway, a little humor. And everybody's fine. The puppy's fine. The woman's fine. The motorists of Kerrville are fine, since they're not traumatized by running over a puppy. It was a win-win. There you go. Thursday, that's right. It is Thursday. Yeah, Jasper is on the mend for sure. Thank you all for your kind words and warm thoughts. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's fucking crazy, man. That thing was, it's like I step out the door, it's pandemonium. And all I can see is this little puff of cotton shooting down the center of the highway. It's like, what the fuck? Anyway, yeah, there we go. Hit the like. Hit that like. Vivi, yeah, you made it. Astro Cat. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Pommy having a Toto Wizard of Oz moment. Totally. I'm with Orlando on this. Yip dogs are not surviving well. So, it depends. It depends on the yip dog. If it was a Jack Russell Terrier, Jack Russells might survive. They could be a little yippy, but Pomeranians, no. They're fucking little court dogs. That's what they are. They're court dogs. They're like I don't know, Slovenian court dogs or something like that. Laura E's got an issue with the hot water heater. Oh boy, yeah, Josie, you're right. Just needed some piano music and turn. It was fucking Keystone Cops. That's exactly what it was. Keystone Cops. All right. All 142 of you, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. We're going to do yesterday's star of the day today, by the way, because it was really kind of cool in some ways. So why don't we do this? Let's get into the weather. And thanks for being here, everyone. They are tiny little sled dogs from tiny humans. They like to work. Well, that's good. It's good. It's hard when you're family. Yeah. Also, Mishi, who used to go by Doomer Boomer, her beagle's not well either, and she's a huge lover of that dog. It's hard, man. It's hard with these pets. It's really, really difficult. And for some people, it's their only lifeline. They don't have They don't have a lot of relatives. They don't have a lot of unconditionality in their lives. So it's really hard. Let's do this. Try it one more time. That's what I always have to do now. Yeah, so when these things happen, for a lot of people, it's their only touch point with unconditional love. And when they go through something difficult like that, it's hard. It's really hard. It's their world. All right. Do a little zoom in. Okay. Here we are, Sun Jupiter in the 12th house, our own little private Idaho. Yeah, the moon in Libra. God, I was really feeling that moon in Libra yesterday, just trying to, the thing with the moon in Libra, it's not just other people or other situations that we have to balance, but it's things within ourselves, right? It's things within ourselves. And I think there's a real restlessness right now. I mean, I'm kind of feeling it, actually. There's a restlessness in the air, and we all have our duties and responsibilities, the things that we have to do in our lives, right? Like, this is a duty and a responsibility for me for a number of reasons. Number one, because theoretically it provides a service, right? Number two, it's really good therapy for me. Number three, it gives people a chance to get together and hang out and chat and connect. So there's all those things. But there's also another aspect in that I'm a working astrologer. So this is what I do to, keep my name out there and promote my work, right? And so it's something that we do every single day. I've got my version of it. You've got your version of it. We all have a version of it. And there's other parts of who we are at times that come up or come out or want to come out. And it's like, not that I don't want to do this. I love doing this. Don't get me wrong. But there are certain times in our lives where we're dealing with, I would say, much deeper emotional issues. And I think just in general, this is one of those times, because when you get a Jupiter-Sun conjunction, it's really quite significant. And the reason it's significant is that they don't happen very often. Especially on the ingress, because they kind of ingressed almost together, didn't they? Right. So the power of these two, plus you added Sirius. You can see Sirius here. So we have, our binary twin conjunct our sun, conjunct Jupiter, which is the second sun, and it's a pretty massive configuration. And when you kind of deconstruct Cancer, what Cancer is attempting to do is an emotional version of Libra, right? That's what Cancer is trying to do. Libra is the mental balancing act, the things that we have to do in our head in order to modulate situations in our lives. Cancer is the emotional version of that, because with the yin and the yang, what we're trying to find is a balanced perspective or balanced relationship between the masculine and the feminine, right? So when you have the sun and Sirius and Jupiter there, it makes these things, whatever the emotional balance / imbalance is, it makes it much, much bigger. Much bigger. And there is something about Cancer that has to do with like emotional authenticity, because it's the first water sign, right? And for me, it's like primary water. It's the water that comes like out of your tap. It's well water, it's creek water, it's pond water. It's all very primary. It's aquifer water. So it's not the heady kind of mystical abstraction of Piscean water, and it's not the dark, murky creature from the Black Lagoon water of Scorpio. Cancer is really life-giving water. It's like primary, right? And so it has a primary relationship with us. And, who are we at an emotional level, at our core? And this is what Cancer, invokes us to do, is like, what's going on? Like, we're coming off the sugar buzz of Gemini, right? 30 days of just nothing but a, triple latte, half the sugar shaker, Mickey Rourke from Diner, sugar buzz from Gemini. And so we're in different territory. And it's not as heady, right? We're dealing with much deeper issues. And what the moon is trying to do here is it's trying to modulate. Now, remember, the moon is the ruler of Cancer, right? So we have this kind of deep impetus to balance things out in an emotional way, right? Or I would say, by the way, I'm gonna cross the lane here. I'm gonna be the Pomeranian crossing over into traffic. If you're in human design, and I have absolutely no corroborating evidence for this, but it's something instinctual. In human design, if you're an emotional fill in the blank, an emotional generator, emotional manifesting generator, emotional projector, emotional manifester, and I can't really speak to a reflector, but maybe Catherine can, since she's in chat. If you have anything in human design that's emotional blank, this is a powerful time for you. This is a very powerful, and again, I'm just lining these these three gaseous giants up, right? Because they're all gas. Jupiter's mostly gas. We know the sun theoretically is gas. Ultimately, it's electric, and Sirius same way, right? So they're all sort of related in their makeup, right? And there's always been this kind of ongoing sense that one day Jupiter will be the second sun of our solar system. And maybe when the one that we have blinks and goes out, Jupiter expands, becomes the next version. There's always been this idea, like Saturn at one point in time was the sun, right? Probably pre-ring Saturn and pre-moon Earth. I've talked about this before, and that everything was more ultraviolet and kind of purple, more of a purple haze in the sky, and high oxygen content, massive plants, massive insects, right? Massive people, giants. You couldn't have a 12-inch mosquito if you didn't have an 18-foot person to keep it all in perspective. So anyway, that's a different story. But this is what's going on here. And the moon in Libra is really trying to balance this thing out. So to me, and again, this is just on an emotional level, that there is an emotional restlessness that is kind of in the inner sky. And the moon in Libra is like, all right, well, how do I deal with this? How do I balance these things out? Now, that's within you. And I'm sure you'll encounter other people who are dealing with something very similar. And when you encounter them, it's like, well, how do I balance out their kind of emotional, I'll use the word immensity instead of intensity, because it's like, this is immense, very big. And I think today is going to be some tricky navigating, because Libra is very heady, right? Libra can justify, and Cancer's not heady. Cancer wants to feel, right? And it wants to feel intensely and really authentically. And the yin yang is spinning and trying to balance that world out. The moon in Libra is dealing with the actual weights and balance, the measures of what we're feeling and dealing with. And then I guess we could throw Chiron in there as part of this equation for at least the moon. And I would say it's an okay day to be vulnerable if you feel that way, but I wouldn't just be vulnerable to anybody, right? Like, because we also have these squares going on, Jupiter-Saturn square. Very early, we have the Sun-Neptune square, 9 degrees. And so it's a tricky kind of algorithm. Like, yeah, you can be vulnerable today, because I think there's some vulnerability in the air, right? But at the same time, you have to be careful, because what you can say, do, and feel can be used against you. And one of the things that I feel like the world is splitting off into two different directions. And maybe there's a multivariant of those directions, but it's really two. And one is, and I can see it, I can sense it, I can feel it. One is this more hardcore, super right-wing, nationalistic, almost fascistic expression, right? Like this whole thing with the alligator prison. So you're going to build this thing, you're going to put it kind of on an island, you're going to put these people in there, and then you're going to surround it with alligators. By the way, crocodiles would be more effective. You get bit by a crocodile, it's not just the bite. They have this weird quasi-venom that if it's not treated, it will infect your body and start to eat your body away. So crocodiles might be a little more, but there's this response, and I get it. It's kind of interesting, kind of kooky, kind of funny, but it's also kind of weird. Like, why do we need them? Why can't we just send them back to their countries? Or why can't we just send them to our good friend down in, was it the Dominican? It's where MS-13 from, that guy, Bukele, our good friend Bukele, El Salvador. Why can't we just send them there? Why do we have to build these garish prisons? Who are they really for? This is kind of, like, I feel like we're there, and there's a part of our society that cheers that, right? And you'll see shirts like, Camp Alligator, right? Like, you're going to see merch, and like people will think it's funny, and in some ways it kind of is funny, but deep down inside there's this sense that good, they're going to get what they fucking deserve. They came here illegally, and it's not just that person or those people. It's true, they did come here illegally, but it's the bundle of I'm going to call them the bundle of sorrows, because they're not really sorrows. They're only sorrows once you get to the point of sorrow. But it's a bundle of grievances, which become a bundle of sorrows. They're not that far behind. They're not that disconnected. So you have this bundle of grievances, and it's like we've been gamed. We're in this laboratory. We've been gamed, and for when did the trans thing really start to happen in a big way? Maybe 2017, maybe 2017, 2016, 2017. So we've been in this hardcore trans, which is collapsing, by the way, for probably about maybe 9 to 10 years. And people are just fed up, right? They're just fed up with, look at me, I'm special. I show up at my 3rd grade class to teach and I'm dressed like a leather dog. Like, people are just tired of it. They're done. But it's also part of this buildup, this emotional and psychic buildup that needs some kind of release. So there's that, there's the DEI stuff, there's all these things that, and there are things that are related to things as simple as the economy and how much things cost. And when you go to open something that you bought, it's about a quarter less than what you used to get for the same price, right? It's for inflation. So there are all these things. And we can go all the way back to COVID, where, talk about a fucking psyop, right? Like, that was a heavy duty. Looking back, I mean, we knew it was happening, but in the moment, it's kind of, you're in the moment and you're going up against the system. But when you go back and look with this perspective, and this is what cancer does, right? It looks back. It's like, that was a fucking massive psyop. And they've compiled all this data and all the kind of X factors and variables that go along with it. But again, nothing has ever really come of it. And what do we read about every day? You know what we read about every day. I don't have to explain it to you. I don't need YouTube to come out and have a disclaimer. And again, like, see, this is the problem with modern society. We have these crises and they're never resolved. They're never resolved. Nobody ever goes to jail. Nobody ever comes out and says, I'm sorry for what I did. It was wrong. I believed I was doing the right thing, but you shouldn't have trusted the science or something like that. You know what I mean? But nothing, zero, nada, nothing ever. And then and I'm going to talk a little bit about Diddy on 15 minutes. Not a lot, but a little. And I think a lot of people were hoping that if you pulled one string on Diddy, he'd be the Black Epstein. And all of a sudden, all these people would start to go down. And so what happens yesterday at the trial, he gets convicted on 2 very minor charges. And if they're going to convict him on those charges, honestly, they shouldn't convict him of any charges at all. You know, basically, they're not convicting him of doing anything with Cassie or the other woman. They're convicting him of bringing people to these events and having them perform sexual acts. And some of these people were not from New York City, right? So they got him on the Mann Act. It's a very old act. It was set up so basically that black men could not take white women across the state line. The Jack Johnson law. But again, like, I guess if you're looking at Diddy as OJ 2.0, huzzah, what a great moment. But for people who were eagerly looking at this to have a peek under the floorboards, there's nothing there. I mean, there is something there, right? So this is what I'm getting at. There's all these things that just build up and build up and build up and build up and build up. And a lot of people are just fed up. And so you get alligator prison and people just love the shit out of it. They just love the shit out of it. Oh, they think it's funny and, oh, this is great. And it's really just a mild case of Schadenfreude because, you know, that's all we get. That's all they give us is little crumbs. Oh, you want something? How about an alligator prison? Boy, that'll really teach them. Yeah, that's an alligator prison. And I feel like there's this world that's splitting. And yeah, I think it's funny and whatever, right? There's a lot of marketing opportunities there. But it's this zealotry and the vehemence of people who see this as a plank in a new version of the world. And, you know, I follow David Nino Rodriguez over on Twitter just because I want to have one foot in the kind of Q world. And he said something really disturbing. He said, in the new system, zero crime will be allowed. Think about that. Where do you think he's getting his information from? 107. What is a crime? In the new system, no crime will be allowed. White collar crime? Does that qualify as a crime? Selling drugs? What is a crime? And what is going to be the deterrent? And I feel like we can kind of get a glimpse into this. Like there's a little bit of a glimpse into where things are going. Now, to me, it feels very fascistic. And this Neptune-Saturn conjunction in Aries, I remember just looking at it for years going, this is going to be a hell of a time. I really feel like the next 3 years, you know, of course, Saturn will begin to separate, but, you know, once these two can join in February and really kick this thing off in a big way, the next 3 years are going to be hell. I'm just going to be really upfront. They're going to be hell. And we're going to see a fundamental shift in the world. And some people will cheer it on and say it's about time. And other people, this is what I'm talking about, the other fork. Right? Other people will see it as you're willing to give up all of these so-called rights just to feel safe and secure. And it feels like this is where we're going. And I think we have an inkling of it. I have an inkling of it. And this moon in Libra, again, is trying to balance these things out. It balance out where this is all going. Because honestly, it doesn't feel great. So I think they're lining up society for, well, do you want to be free or do you want to be safe? And when I was on that thread, these are just people that they don't really think outside the box too much. They think they do, but they're just in another box. And one of them said, it was a woman, thank God it's been so dangerous lately, we can't even walk on the streets. Really? But that's the mindset. And I suppose if you're in some bad parts of Chicago or Gary, Indiana, or Oakland, you may not want to walk in those areas. But I think as a blanket statement, it's a very dangerous statement. But there are people that are cheering for this. They're cheering for an overt control that they have zero ability to activate in their own life. And I think it's dangerous to have one person who has been endowed with the power of a Caesar. And I don't care who that person is. I don't care if it's Trump or Biden or Obama. I think it's a really dangerous precedent. Now, if that person was like morally, really morally, philosophically, spiritually sound, absolutely. I like, you know what? I trust this person. They don't have an agenda. You know, they run for president. Like their PACs are really neat and they don't have any weird special interest groups, you know, or 70-year-old cheerleaders from Israel giving them $500 million. Maybe I might consider it. But I think it's a real danger for any country or any culture to give one individual who has not proven themselves. And I'm not saying that there can't be a model where there is somebody like that, but they have to prove themselves. And one of the things that they have to prove is consistency. So we're in a it's in this 4th of July weekend is going to be interesting, right? We're going to have the moon in Scorpio. And, you know, towards the end of that lunar cycle, it's going to be opposing Venus. We got Uranus coming into Gemini on the 7th. So we're going to have the moon in Scorpio opposing Uranus. Pretty volatile. Pretty volatile. Well, we got some good stuff though still. If you're crafting and doing domestic shit around the house, that Mars sextile to Jupiter Sun is really good. And we still have this Mercury trying to Neptune, which is very psychic, by the way. And in fire, it's like instantaneous, instant knowing, right? Trust your instincts. Okay. That's the weather. It's funny. Now Trump is calling for the firing or dismissal of Jerome Powell. The interest rates thing is finally becoming an issue. Go figure. All right. So this is our True Hemp Science star of the day. It's Margot Robbie, who portrayed Sharon Tate in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which we'll talk about in a second. But this segment is brought to you by True Hemp Science, your one-stop shop for all things CBD. And I had one of the sleep gummies last night. Good, really good. Helped me within 10 minutes. I was out. I like listening to documentaries about history before I go to bed. And I was listening to the life of Leon Trotsky. And I didn't get past the first 18 years and I was out. So if you order $100 or more, you type in 15MINS and you will get a goodie bag with your order. That means you're going to get an order within the order. Spend $150 more and you will get free shipping. There's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. You owe it to yourself to be your best self. And CBD is the secret weapon. Do it every day. You want to immerse your body in it. And it will help you with inflammation and give you a reset on a deeper level. It's got some cognitive stuff for your brain. And all that's over at truehempscience.com. You can find out more about it. All right, let's talk Margot Robbie. Now, she plays Sharon Tate in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And for shits and giggles, I wanted to look at Sharon Tate's chart. And I don't have them here together, but you'll have to trust me on this. Sharon Tate is a Cancer rising right around the same degree as Margot Robbie, and also has Jupiter and Cancer on the ascendant. I thought, what are the fucking odds of that? That both of them have the same rising sign, and both of them have Jupiter, within a 5-degree orb of the ascendant. And then Sharon Tate is an Aquarian, and Margot Robbie has the true node in Aquarius. So Sharon Tate's sun is right around here, right? So she has literally a relationship, a relationship with Sharon Tate, because she played Sharon Tate. And in some ways, like, I don't know, I can't name you another Margot Robbie movie. Was she in one of those DC comic movies? I don't know. But I do know she played Sharon Tate. And I think that's the role that everybody clicks with her. Because there's certainly a resemblance. And the way that she portrayed her in the movie was, I mean, you could tell that Quentin Tarantino was absolutely in love with Sharon Tate. Because she's treated almost like it's like Sharon Tate and Margot Robbie are the Uma Thurman of this movie. And Tarantino has this, I think, reverence for like these blonde goddesses. So her portrayal of Sharon Tate, for me, got her on the map. And I don't think there's any coincidence that they both share Cancer rising. They both have Jupiter on the first house cusp. And her true node is conjunct Sharon Tate's sun. It's like the odds of that they're pretty high. The thing that's interesting about Margot Robbie is she's got this 12th house sun, which I've talked about a lot. And actors who have 12th house suns generally have a role that in some ways defines them and sort of launches them into our consciousness, right? So Keanu Reeves has a 12th house sun. And of course, Neo. I mean, there's other archetypal versions of Keanu Reeves, but Neo's the one that really gets us, right? Billy Bob Thornton. He plays the guy from Sling Blade. Carl. Some people call it Kaiser Saul. I'll call it Sling Blade. Right? And this extends to Margot Robbie. She's Sharon Tate. And I feel like, again, it's this 12th house sun that is kind of immersed in these deep waters of like an archetype. Yeah, I don't know anything else that she's done, but I know that she played Sharon Tate. And it's the same kind of mythic resonance that these people who have 12th house suns exude in a specific role, right? She has Mars in the 9th house. And the reason I think this is significant is she was born in Australia. So she has this pioneering energy, right? This pioneering energy with Mars in the 9th house. It's like, go out there, go into the world, go seek your fortune. And she's now in the United States. I don't know, maybe she still has a home in Australia, but clearly to make movies, Hollywood was the place you would want to be. I'm not sure it is now. And I think that move towards, and again, I know nothing about her family life or anything like that, but it feels like a move away from her home would not be easy because she's a Cancer, and Cancers love their roots, generally speaking. They love where they come from. So she has in some ways, she has like no other option than to break out and, see the world or travel to the US or go to Hollywood And it's a real test. Right? It's a real test. She has to face her fears, Mars Neptune square. She has to go against some degree of like conformity with Saturn. And then she's also dealing with these roots and family issues over here. So this is a very interesting placement for Mars. I also feel like she's a person who gets what she wants. You say, well, look at her. She's beautiful. Yeah, but I don't think she gives up until she gets what she wants. Now, when she gets there, is it worth the price? I'm not sure. Right? This is a person who has a great deal of ambition and is literally forced to leave their place of comfort. Right? And she's got a moon in Scorpio. So that's a deep attachment. You know, even though she has Pluto in her 4th house, very intense place for Pluto. Like leaving home with all that Scorpio, not easy. Not easy. So, but I also feel like in a lot of ways she's alone. Look at her Venus, just hanging out here. It's not doing a hell of a lot. Like there's no major aspects until you get to a trine with your true node, and that's not even a real major aspect. And she's got it in Gemini and in the 11th house. It's like, wow. Now, relocated in Hollywood, this is going to be a very different chart. Right? So yeah, she'll be really social and really popular, but I could tell you that this is a person who could also be very lonely, extremely lonely. And, you know, a bit of a social butterfly as well. It's interesting because if she wasn't an actress, she's got that Neptune, Saturn, Uranus troika in the 6th house. Heavy duty Virgo, 6th house work. And she wasn't an actress. I don't know what she would do. Maybe she'd work with animals or something. Maybe she'd work at a veterinarian's office. But this is a chart that is built on breaking through some kind of inertia. And when this person gets settled, they can only be settled for a period of time. And then it's push the envelope and break through the inertia, whatever that is. Whatever it is. And she's looking, I think, ultimately for her forever place with all this Scorpio in the 4th house. But it's almost like the tale of two charts, right? This is all trending down into the deep personal. And in the public sphere, right, what do we have? We've got conflict, we have competition, we have meeting test after test after test, right? And it's almost like, well, you know, if you just wanted to kind of be normal and have a family and have babies, like you would have a really interesting and I think concordant life. But if you don't want to do that and you want a different kind of life, it's going to take every single ounce and fiber of your energy to achieve your goals. So it's a very interesting chart in this way. Very interesting. But I feel like she feels quite alone. And you would think, oh my God. And I think she probably has a hard time trusting people to relate to her because and I think she has some depth, right? Sun Mercury conjunction in Cancer, Chiron Sun conjunction. There's also some wounding there. And for somebody who looks fantastic, right? She's probably got more vulnerability than you think. But I think her challenge socially is just dealing with superficiality. And she can do it, she can handle it, but it almost feels like she has a kind of Greta Garbo vibes at some point. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point you just won't see Margot Robbie anymore. Like, I want to be alone. I want to be alone. And I can just see her. It's like, whatever happened to Margot Robbie? You'll see those stories. Anyway, there you go. That's your True Hemp Science story of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. And with that, we come to the end of the show. Please hit the like and leave a comment. It's healthy, very healthy for the algorithm. And we will be doing a show tomorrow with Mr. Russ Winter, 15 Minutes Flame. We're going to talk about, I'm going to pose a challenge to Russ. And the challenge, and I'm going to do it for myself, 10 things about America that we love. 10 things about America. So when we're going through the show, you can leave your comments, and I'm happy to publish a little bit of snark, right? Got to have a little snark. But I think what I'm going to try to do tomorrow is use this day as an exercise in remoralization. And what I mean by that is not to remind people, to be more pious and moral, but to use it as like, like a green smoothie, like with all these phytonutrients and what we can be thankful for and grateful for. And so if you have some comments, we'll put them up tomorrow. And I think that's going to be the show for me and Russ. The 10 things we love about the United States of America. A celebration. All right. Thanks for being here. You can buy me a cup of coffee if you feel like it. The link is there. Don't forget the bridge event happening in October. It's going to be lit, as the kids say. What else do we have? I think that's about it. Take care of yourselves. Treat each other well. God bless. Love you all. Robert Phoenix signing off. Bye for now.